September 4th, 2024. The FBI rolls up, not for some bank heist, not for some Wall Street scam, but for a musician. Yeah, first criminal case in US history saying somebody faked music streams. On purpose. With AI. According to the feds, this one guy, Michael Smith, 52 years old, from North Carolina, allegedly ran a one-man streaming empire, but instead of a tour bus and fans lined up at the merch table, it was hundreds and thousands of AI-made songs, thousands of fake accounts, and a bunch of bot listeners who never blinked, never slept, and never asked for an encore. Odd, right? Who would have thought? But it worked. Allegedly. To the tune of over $10 million in royalties from Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. They were all supposedly getting milked while this ghost catalog racked up plays. And this wasn't just gaming the system. This was straight up rewriting the rules of the music industry in real time with code. Crazy. That's some hacker shit right there. Anyway, the government calls it wire fraud. I call it the day music lied. Let's dive into this topic together. I'm Jasmine, and you are seeing Jaybird TV. Today, I wanted to talk about this case. I thought how interesting it was and how relevant it is to today's music world. I make music and enjoy doing a bunch of different artistic things like photography, videography, painting, and all that type of stuff too. But I wanted to talk about things that intrigued me and things I research by myself, but I wanted to share it with a community. So, let's dive into this case together. I'm pretty intrigued by it. So who the hell is Michael Smith? This 52-year-old guy from North Carolina, just another DIY music guy, grinding his own business and staying in his own lane. The kind of dude that's been in the trenches for years, recording, producing, releasing, building his own little music empire on his own in his home studio. But according to the DOJ, that empire wasn't fueled by a fan base in the usual way. They say Smith was generating entire catalogs with AI, like massive catalogs, and allegedly farming streams with literal armies of bots to trigger royalty payouts. You see where I'm getting at here? I'm just gonna pause right there because getting actual human streams is not easy. I'm out here putting new tracks every week, posting my own reels, trying to get into playlists, and it is work. You know, the grind, the hustle, it's fucking real. And even then, it's not like you just wake up viral. You're basically pushing a boulder uphill in roller skates while the algorithm throws banana peels at you, kind of like the computer in Mario Kart is like so much better at you in every way, and he keeps on just throwing shit at you. So the idea that you could just like poof, spin up thousands of fake listeners who never sleep, never get distracted, and never skip your track halfway through, I can see how it's tempting to people who aren't about that slow burn. How it can be tempting to just fucking game the system however they want. Long-form reporting says this isn't the first time Smith's name has popped up either. There was this jazz release that shot up charts out of nowhere, then mysteriously just tanked just as fast, with fraud rumors swirling. It was never proven, but it's one of those things where your eyebrow goes up, and now, with the 2024 arrest, that's all coming back around. Let's put it that way. It's important to note that he's pleaded not guilty and he's not convicted of anything yet. These are just allegations the feds laid out, and you know how they love their dramatic press releases. Anyway, the angle here is wild though, because this is that music mogul fantasy meets 2020's cheat code, frictionless AI tools plus royalty loopholes, basically zero oversight until someone notices your checks are way too fucking big. And it's new. It isn't some recycled scam from the 90s. The music industry has never had to deal with this exact setup before. We're literally in uncharted territory here. Yeah. Which honestly makes me wonder how many more Smiths are there just waiting to pop up in the headlines? Or worse, how many are making bank right now and not getting caught? We are already seeing so many AI, lo-fi people today. It's kind of crazy. I'm pretty sure it's happening right under our noses as we speak. All right, let's talk about how this was allegedly pulled off, because this isn't just a few fake plays. This was systematic. Duh, it was all intentional. Music business worldwide cites DOJ media saying we are talking hundreds of thousands of AI-generated songs, and not under Michael Smith, no. These were scattered across fake artist names, each one of them with their own little ghost identity floating out there on all of the platforms. And, okay, this is where it gets a little spicy. Those tracks start getting streamed by an army of bots. Thousands of accounts, according to the feds. I'm talking round the clock, no bathroom breaks, no skipping to the next track, just endless loops. That's your per stream royalties machine right there. And he was making bank. $10 million type bank. And per bleeping computer, the platform's hit weren't just some niche streaming sites, no. This touched Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. The heavy hitters, which means the payouts weren't coming from just one place. They were coming from everywhere. All of the platforms. So here's how the money flow allegedly goes. So from the streams, it goes to the platforms. And from the platforms, it goes to the distributor. And from the distributor, it goes to collecting societies. And then from there, it goes straight into the bank accounts. DOJ calls that wire fraud. Add in the funneling and transfers they say that happened. That's wire fraud conspiracy and money laundering conspiracy territory. And this all allegedly ran for years before the feds stepped in, which, let me say, is wild because most new musicians I know can't even get their song in a playlist without emailing 20 curators and sacrificing a goat under a full moon. Meanwhile, this dude's allegedly out here printing fake streams like it's a side hustle. And it's making me think, why didn't I think of this sooner? But also, I'm glad he did it first because now I know it's a little illegal to do that. One of the reasons why I was so intrigued by this case in the first place. The scale is insane, and we're talking about exploiting a loophole in an industry that was never built for this. No one at Spotify in 2010 was like, hey, we should plan for AI to drop 500,000 fake jazz albums under a burner name and then stream it by an army of zombie phones. This is kind of new. Let's put it that way. And the DOJ wants to make an example out of it. An example they have made. Let's go over what we actually know. Receipts, timelines, the good stuff, all the tea. September 4th, 2024, which was the big day, the indictment. It's unsealed. Same day, the arrest, slow burn, no mysterious van in the neighborhood for weeks. It's just, boom, FBI, cuffs, headlines. It kind of takes everybody a hot minute to process. And straight from the Department of Justice, the charges are very 2024, I guess. It's an AI-aided stream inflation. So not just faking streams, but allegedly using AI to make the tracks and maybe coordinate the playbacks. Bot accounts, thousands of them per the DOJ. These fake artist profiles, we're talking like alias overload. We're talking alias overload. Multi-platform royalties, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, YouTube Music, and the money flow, which they say from streams to distributor to the collecting societies to personal accounts, allegedly around $10 million. Wild. Press coverage immediately started throwing around that first of its kind case tagline. Shout out to the ARS, Technica, and Forbes for really hammering that AI angle. They both leaned in on how massive this was and how it could set a precedent for the whole industry moving forward. So what does that mean going forward? What's it like at a wider level? Well, okay. The Verge reports that streaming platforms are already battling a wave of AI uploaded content, not just fraud like this, but low quality spam tracks flooding the ecosystem of genuinely good art and well-made music. The Guardian points out that a lot of distributors have weak vetting processes, meaning you could technically slide fake songs through if you know how to play the system well enough. This whole cat and mouse game, they're playing, they patch one hole and somebody finds another, basically. It's really hard to gatekeep this and make it so that we are not manipulating the system, you feel me? So, yeah, Smith's case might be the first criminal one, but the problem is it's already bigger than just one guy. Because people are already, multiple people are doing this already. Companies are doing this. And here's the official status line. Per Wired, Michael Smith is charged, not convicted, and he denies all wrongdoing. He's pleaded not guilty, which means this is still playing out in court, and legally, he's innocent until proven otherwise. This raises a lot of questions. That's the tension of it all, right? Because you see, we got the DOJ saying that this is a landmark fraud case. You've got the accused saying, nope, I didn't do it. And then there's this middle where you've got an entire music industry suddenly realizing their biggest security flaw might not be hackers in hoodies, It's gonna be a musician with a laptop and a little too much AI. That's the wild part of it. Why would somebody allegedly go through all of this trouble? Well, okay, let's start out with what The Guardian points out. Streaming payouts are freaking tiny as fuck. Mostly 0.03 is the median number. 0.03 cents. A literal decimals that make you question your math skills, but scale it up with automation. That's where numbers suddenly make sense. But at least on paper, at scale, automation always wins. That's why you'll catch a bunch of different companies trying to get you to promote streams by getting real people to listen to your music, but you have to pay them to do that first. And then there's this tech trap. As The Verge describes it, off-the-shelf AI music generators, ready-made bot streaming services, and lax metadata pathways. Translation, the barrier to entry is low, and the platforms aren't great at catching you unless you get greedy. You see where I'm going with this? Okay. The Verge and The Guardian also both talk about the fame pressure. This whole perception hacking thing. Yeah, we all know big numbers look like big success. People see 500,000 streams and assume you're poppin', We'll start taking meetings and your DMs get busier. Doors open when your numbers are fat. And even if they're fake, the numbers are still there and they are on the screen. So it means you got something going for yourself, right? But that's kind of like the hook for me, right? Is this dude a criminal mastermind or just like a symptom of like this royalty machine that's been broken since the start, I would say, since streaming platforms even were a thing? Was it ever meant for us to work as independent artists? Because, like, spoiler alert, big labels already prey on smaller artists. Plenty of signed acts barely see any of the payouts from their own fucking music. Like, why? And this case befuddles me in, like, so many different ways. And I think that's why a lot of us just do it for the art, because like the math never maths, you know? And I use loops, I use electronic stuff, and because I have to be cost effective, I'm not fucking rich. I like don't have a label paying my studio time. Like I've never been able to consider that for myself. I'm just not rich and I don't have a regular studio. I have an at-home studio. But that's still me. It's my voice, my ideas, my storytelling. In this case, it's not about the love of music. It's about money. It's algorithmic dominance and doing it so anonymously under so many aliases that they didn't even have to show their face. Like, that's the weirdest thing about it. We don't even know what these fake artist names were or like what the songs were even called. Like, supposedly, most of them have been taken down already. The DOJ didn't release them, and none of the outlets, ARS, Technica, Forbes, Music Business Worldwide, Bleeping Computer, they never named a single track, which makes it feel even shadier, right? Like, what was out there? Were these, like, lo-fi beats, like fake jazz albums, like AI pop with, like, AI vocals? Like, nobody really knows for sure, because I want to know. I want to hear some of these tracks, to be honest. I'm a little curious. It's kind of the opposite of what like most of us have to do now, which is like post on socials, beg playlist curators, engage with fans. This scheme is like basically skipped an entire human part of making music. Which, trust me, like, I've tried to skip some aspects of, like, this process, and I've tried to make making music faster for me, and that's kind of, like, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and trying to do it on, like, a weekly, consistent basis. Like, I am attempting to be a producer of sorts, but for myself at first, until I can get to the point where I want to start making music for others. Okay, so, like, what happens if this goes all the way? According to the Department of Justice, wire fraud plus wire fraud conspiracy plus money laundering conspiracy, that's enough, technically carries a maximum sentence in the decades range. You know, not too bad comparatively to, like, I don't know, murdering somebody, but I gotta be careful here with how I say this. That's maximum, like that's the biggest number possible on the sentencing chart. The real number depends on all the kind of boring court stuff. Sentencing guidelines, how much money they can prove was involved, and whether there's like a plea deal, yada yada, you get what I mean, yeah? Okay. I don't have to explain much more than that. My gut says that this is more likely to end with some like fat restitution checks and fees with him, like, rather than him like actually rotting in a cell. Why? Because the system he allegedly gamed wasn't even built for little people to win in the first place. Yeah. He didn't like rob an old lady or burn down a building. He tricked billion-dollar platforms into paying him by playing their own game. You know? You gotta have a little respect for the guy. Just a little. Just a little. I know, he did it. It's illegal. But yeah, sentencing could still mean real jail time. Like, imagine that conversation when, like, a lockup cell. Can you imagine? Like, hey man, what are you in for? I made AI bots. do you think they would think like he's a genius, or would you get props for like hacking Spotify or something, or would somebody just like take your dessert and bully you for it? Like, I don't know. You guys should let me know if you think like that's something like respectable in like the criminal world, or like you think he's gonna get beat up for it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Either way, you know, this is where the stakes get interesting, because if the DOJ makes an example out of him, it sets like a legal precedent. And that means every indie artist who gets a little too creative with their marketing is gonna be sweating bullets, wondering where the line actually is. But like, here's the actual scary part. The music industry is already like in murky territory on what counts as organic versus manipulated. Yeah. Labels inflate numbers all the time. Playlist placements, ad targeting, and even coordinated fan streams. Those are just sanctioned versions of like what he allegedly did. So where's the cutoff? Is it just like legal if you're rich enough to do it in plain sight? Ethical questions! Whoa! We love to see those. We love to talk about those. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think is ethical in this scenario and what isn't, because I genuinely don't know. I think that this like legal loophole that has been going on for so long in the music industry is so interesting to me, especially as somebody who had just started out like releasing music literally in like January. I just started. I'm just starting to learn about how like corrupt the small, like the big artist community is, like the corruption, and then like this how the small artists cannot like can barely pave their way out unless you're like unless a label pays you to be like a stand-in, like small artist somehow grew up like example like Doechii. Let's put it that way. Or like Doja Cat. Those two are very like big inspirations to me, but like at the same time, were they plants the whole time? Like, were they really small artists, or were they planned the whole time to be like a blow up, you know? Anyway, food for thought. That's the thing though, right guys? The real artistry isn't in farming numbers, and it isn't even making something. It's not in making something, it's even if it's messy, even if it's not backed up by a label, and even if it's just you, your gear, in way too many late nights. I don't know if any of you guys are watching that do music, but this is me, that's me. I've got several little albums out, and I'm on this mission to like post a new song every week, but not because of like some growth hack, but because I've just been sitting on this backlog for like a year and a half, just refining, mixing, and letting my songs evolve over time. Some of them are newer, you know, built off of old melodies I've messed with forever, and then just finally they clicked. Being honest, I use a lot of loops. I have drum loop subscriptions, like different loops that I like to use on repeat. I have a doubler mic where I can like turn my voice into a MIDI, and then like I have a Lava Genie that I love to use for guitar chord progressions and stuff I like. I also like the drum loops on it, and I record it and I'll mess with it in FL Studio until it feels like me. But sometimes we utilize electronics in different ways, and I'm even learning like piano slowly, because you know, broke musician life means like saving up for better mics and like an actual piano. You know, these are all like long-term goals to have as a musician, because the artistry means a lot to me and I want it to feel real. I'm trying to figure out how to make live performances that feel authentic, even though a lot of my stuff is digital. I like experimenting, blending electronics with like live energy, so it all still feels real. So right now, I have some like tracks, you know, subtle plug, guys, subtle plug. I have to do it somewhere. My latest track is like Pool Days, and I'm thinking my next track is gonna be Lock It Up, and another one called Stop Faking It. These are all gonna be upcoming. Pool Days is out right now, and AMFCG, which is just a super simple written one so that I could play it live anywhere. That one's pretty special to me because it's about my move from Alaska to Florida and finding something that introduces people to who I am as Jaybird, as the artist that I am, and a little bit of the persona I've taken on, you know, to kind of like have an artist persona of sorts. I don't know. Yeah. If you're into like real DIY vocals plus like Lava Genie loops, my track drops every week. Like I have a track that drops every week. I keep it all updated on my Instagram stories, like photo dumps, random day to day, what I cook. I love cooking, but I'm like not gonna become a recipe channel. I just kind of like to fuck around with food and cook for my grandma. And sneak peeks of what I'm doing next. I like to do some Q&As once in a while on there too, so just to check in with you guys. I'm out here attempting to do music and YouTube at the same time. One human versus the algorithm. Isn't that great? And if you're like into chill game streams, I'll probably be like on Tales from the Shire soon, maybe like Sims, and like potentially GTA 6 when it finally drops. I don't know when that is, but I like character creator stuff. I like chill streams. And I might do some live Q&As while I play too. You know, feel free to drop in if you want to do that. Let me know in the comments. Are you into this mix of like true crime deep dives and like music, or do you kind of like want more of something else? Like any suggestions? I'm open to collabs and like different cases that I could work on kind of like in a similar category. I've kind of been in the background of marketing for other people for like a long time, and I think it's just time for what I can do in the foreground as Jasmine, as Jaybird. You know, I just want to show you guys a little bit of a realer part of me that isn't just so forged to look super professional and stuff. I want something a little bit more laid back and that feels like me. And I hope that this seems like me. The Department of Justice says like a single musician found the cheat code. Bots don't sleep and AI doesn't get writer's block. And Bleeping Computer lays it all out. Allegedly, Smith mass-generated tracks, uploaded them under ghost artists, and then pointed armies of fake listeners across all platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, until micropennies stacked into millions. Crazy. I feel like this can be a lesson for all musicians out there, including me. Platforms will say that they will fight this daily, but the upload to distributor pipeline is squishy. It's squishy, and AI is pouring gasoline on it. So, that really begs the question, right? If the system rewards quantity over connection, do we blame the player or do we fix the game? That's the whole thing. This isn't just some dude in North Carolina, like allegedly breaking the rules. This is a symptom of a bigger problem. A massive problem. A music economy that's counting plays instead of building fans, and people listening for art, for the sake of art. For the fucking sake of art. You know? Yeah. I'm gonna keep making music the way I do, you know, loops, Lava Genie riffs, late nights in FL Studio, real ideas, real fucking art, made by humans, made with human intention. Like, even if numbers don't make me rich, whatever, you know? Anyway, if you guys like this deep dive, please stick around. Next time, we're probably gonna look at another case in a similar field. I do love true crime, and I also like talking about things in the music industry. Let me know in the comments what I should talk about next and do some research on. Anything from like laundering cases, fraud scandals, different crimes, same music, world chaos, you know? Subscribe so you don't miss it. And let me know in the comments what music x true crime case you want me to dig into next. Anyway, outside of YouTube, I live on Instagram. So if you want my like actual day-to-day cooking experiments, random photo dumps, Q&As, little life updates, at JSteves_. JSteves, underscore 907. That's kind of where my personal account is, and you'll see all the unfiltered stuff. Jaybird AK is my artist account. That's where I post my music drops, sneak peeks, and probably like clips from my YouTube videos. So we can like pull more people into this weird little corner of the internet that I'm trying to build. I just moved here to Florida, and I'm taking care of my grandma, and suddenly I've got like way more free time than I'm used to, which is kind of why I'm here, making content, telling stories, and finally putting as much energy into my projects as I used to put into everybody else's. I still do marketing on the side here and there, like old habit to die hard, I guess, but I'm being a little bit more selfish. I'm making some music just for me. I mean, I want other people to hear it and see if they can resonate with my story. I'm painting, I'm cooking, and yeah, I'm like about to try pottery soon. I'm building my own version of creative chaos, and I want you guys all to be a part of it. So, over here on Jaybird TV, you'll get the structured stuff where I'm like actually trying to do good video editing shit, long form documentary style videos, true crime, music deep dives, all polished up, you know, my life, my chaotic brain. It could be me just gaming Tales from the Shire or like Sims or something like that too, like on lives, but most of the time just me rambling while I like drink coffee or something like that. If you vibe with this, subscribe, follow, comment, whatever makes sense for you. I really appreciate your time. Anybody who gave this a watch or a listen, even just a minute, seriously, you're part of the reason I'm fucking doing this. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a great week. Do something cool. Do something for yourself. Make some fucking art. If I can do anything to improve your life, or like command you to do, is to make some art for yourself and then post it. And don't be afraid to post about it, because sometimes the world deserves to see your art. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. See you later. Bye.